Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to iGeek Tech, and today we have a three-way battle. We have the iPhone 15 Pro, the iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 17 Pro. We'll break down the design, the performance, the cameras, and even the battery life. And most importantly, whether it's worth upgrading into it in 2026. Let's get into it. So here's the lineup in a glance. Here we have the iPhone's most pro flagship phone, the iPhone 17 Pro. Here we have Apple's last year's latest greatest phone, the iPhone 16 Pro. And here we have the iPhone 15 Pro, Apple's 2023 model. Featuring in the iPhone 15 Pro, this has the A17 Pro chip with a 3x optical zoom lens, not the 5x that's featured on the 15 Pro. This has obviously 2x, 1x, and 0.5, right? This is the first iPhone to feature the Fusion camera, and does have the millimeter zoom ranges for the 1x as well. This does feature a 6.1 inch 120 hertz Pro Motion display that is featured since the iPhone 13 Pro. It does also carry the always on display, so obviously you could see the time and everything like that. The iPhone 16 Pro has the A18 Pro chip featuring 6.3 inch display, right? So a little bit bigger. It does have an improved camera sensor and does feature 5x zoom that was on the iPhone 15 Pro, and does carry a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera, but does only carry a 12 megapixel 3x camera. With the iPhone 17 Pro, this also does have the 6.3 inch display. Obviously it's faster, it's cooler with the new vapor chamber design, and does have the new design with an upgraded trifecta 48 megapixel camera. And it does feature a brighter display than all three. It does have 0.5, 1, 2, 4, and 8. So a little bit less zoom than the 16 Pro here with the 5x, but it also does get a 8x camera compared to this only digitally zooms up to 25, 40, and then the 15 Pro, I believe, only zooms up to 15. So visually up in the front, all share the new Apple premium design, but obviously there are differences, right? So the 15 has the classic Pro look, right? The 6.1 inch display. This does feature the first iPhone with titanium rails, which, really feels super nice and premium within your hand. Just kind of scrolling through the menus here, it just feels so nice, so premium. And this does definitely feel like a $1,000 smartphone, super nice feeling. The 16 Pro, pretty similar here. It does also offer a slightly larger display where everything just feels super nice, super great, and feels really nice. And it was the last Pro iPhone to feature the classic Pro 3-camera design. And then the iPhone 17 Pro is faster, does have a new design and stuff like that. Some people say it doesn't feel as premium as the older Pro models. I think it feels pretty good. I think it's honestly the same in my opinion, but some people do disagree with that. Now, for now in iOS 26, there isn't much of a difference when it comes to iOS and 12 gigs of RAM. Other than doing like super heavy tasks, AI, gaming, faster edits and everything like that, that's the only time where the RAM kind of shows itself a little bit more than these phones. But definitely in the future, this is going to be more future-proof compared to these devices. When it comes to battery and charging, obviously all three phones are super great. It doesn't really matter at this point. Obviously if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, you've been using it for like 2 years, obviously the battery has degraded just a little bit. The 15 Pro I'm using here does, but then I had a warranty where I had to kind of get a new one. So this was my personal phone for about like a year. So not too much use out of this phone specifically, right? This phone has been my work phone for a long time. So this has been my work phone for a little while. So this phone definitely has been probably the most used. Yeah, so this one has 217 cycles at 98% battery health. This phone, very great battery life. Honestly, I cannot complain about the battery life on this phone. This phone honestly had really good battery life when I was using this as a daily driver. Obviously, this phone is the new 17 Pro Max. It has a super large battery, 33 hours of video playback, Apple claims. But honestly, in normal use, all three of these phones have super great battery life, and I can't really complain. The only reason I would consider the 16 Pro and the 15 Pro nowadays would just be the price, honest. With the 17 Pro sitting at $1,100 for 98% of the population, this phone is way too expensive, especially in this modern economy, right? Obviously, with the 17 Pro, the base model does start at 256 gigabytes, which Apple did up the storage accordingly, right? So this is kind of is what the iPhone 16 Pro 256 would have costed last year. So they kind of discontinued the 128 and then the trickery of the price, right? So when it comes to secondhand and refurbished for a 15 and 16 Pro, I'm going to show some examples of how much the 16 Pro is kind of costing right now. I'm seeing around like $600 for like the low end, up to like $700 to $800 still. And maybe in 2026, some carriers might still have some in stock. Probably not at this point, but I've seen some carriers like AT&T and Verizon still might carry this phone for like $800 still. Now for $800 for a brand new 16 Pro, yeah, it's 128 gigabytes, right? But that's honestly a pretty good value. Now when it comes to the 15 Pro, I've seen this phone go for about $400 for like a decent condition model, all the way up until like $600 to $700 still for like a brand new like 250 to 512 gigabyte model when it comes to this phone. Obviously, this phone is starting to hit 2 to 3 years old now, so I would kind of check the battery health, make sure this wasn't used like crazy. Make sure you definitely want to be over 85% battery health if you're going to use this as a daily phone. Apple does offer $89 to replace the battery in all these devices, which would breathe new life into the device. But if you are looking for a device with lower battery health, factor the cost of replacing the battery into the phone. You know, it's a year-old phone. Most people haven't drastically drained the battery on the phone yet, so this you wouldn't have to really worry about. But for the 17 Pro, the phone is still being sold brand new by Apple for $1,100. I mean, if you go for a lightly used one, you still might get it for like $800 to $900. But at that point, I would kind of be wary, because you know, sometimes the device might be locked to a carrier, or the device might have like an IMEI or activation block. So I would kind of be wary if you're looking for a 17 Pro used right now. Same with the 16 Pro a little bit, but for the 15 Pro, you shouldn't have that many issues with that. Now, if I had an iPhone 15 Pro, would I upgrade to the 17 Pro? I would wait. There isn't that many great features that completely stand out when it comes to jumping from a 15 Pro to 17 Pro. You know, you are missing the camera control button, and you are missing the slightly larger display size, but it isn't really that big of a deal, especially if you're somebody who just kind of uses their phone as just a regular device. You know, you use the camera sometimes, you like some pro features, but you aren't really like huge on like everything like that. So the iPhone 15 Pro is still a great phone. I would recommend it. It's from a 16 Pro to 17 Pro this year, unless you really want the new design and the 48 megapixel telephoto camera. It isn't really that much of a great upgrade, and honestly, when it comes to design, feel, and quality, it is kind of a downgrade in my opinion, because you're going from titanium to aluminum, and you know, aluminum isn't as premium feeling as titanium, so it's honestly a downgrade in my opinion. But obviously, if you want the best of the best phone, obviously I would go with the 17 Pro. Which phone do you think is worth it in 2025? Would you rather get the iPhone 15 Pro? You know, it's cheaper, it still has Apple Intelligence and all the great features, so, or would you get the 16 Pro? It's still designed and built for AI, it still has Apple Intelligence and all the great features at a slightly reduced price with the premium feel? Or are you the type of guy who's like, I just want the best of the best iPhone that has all the great features and everything included? What do you guys think in the comments below? Let me know what you think. And if you guys want to catch any other content below, let me know. I also do have solo comparisons for all these videos as well, where I do review the iPhone 17 Pro, the 16 Pro, and the 15 Pro as well, right? So if you guys are interested, I do have those also linked down in the description below. But yeah, guys, this is iGeek Tech. Thank you for watching today, and peace out.